I've been playing a lot of Gaijin's new game, Active Matter, and I gotta say, guys, it's pretty good. Now, I'm not typically a big fan of games like this, and I wasn't really even going to check this game out too much, but I was convinced by some people who I trust and typically have good opinions on games, and, you know, it turns out I like it. I really do. I normally prefer a more straightforward, you know, bang, bang, I shoot you, you shoot me, but Active Matter, it's really working out. It's really scratching an itch that I don't think I knew I had. To give you guys an overview of the game, it's an extraction shooter. So think like, you know, Escape from Tarkov or something like that, where you go in, you loot some cardboard box and you get something, and then you get out with your new goodies, right? Stuff like that. However, Active Matter puts a lot of emphasis on the actual PvE aspect of the game, playing against the environment itself, because it takes place in the same world as the Stalker games, if you guys are familiar with those. If you're not, the basic gist is that there's these big zones where there's just kind of crazy stuff going on, crazy anomalies. And these can range from, you know, oh, I can walk up this wall and get on the roof really easily and gravity's kind of messed up, to more insane things like there's a nest of these like flower monsters that are going to run up and like rip your head off, right? It's, you know, there's a pretty big variety of things that you could run into, and you have to navigate through this. And it really drives the anxiety factor of the game up a lot, since you're not only threatened by other players who might be running around and trying to steal your loot the different, you know, good areas and take your stuff, but you're also threatened by the very environment itself. I've definitely had a few encounters with just anomalies, no players involved, that went, well, poorly, to say the absolute least, right? So it really is, it's borderline a horror game, which I wasn't really expecting from an extraction shooter, but it really plays well. So as you explore the various maps, you complete these storyline contracts that advance your level. They get you money and currency, and you get new guns and equipment, which you could then take into your raids. And eventually you get to synchronize with the monolith, which, as far as I understand it, is kind of like the end game for players. Now, I haven't really gotten that far yet, but from what I have been told, there's a whole thing where when players reach the monolith, they get to choose if they want to wipe the server or not. And once enough players do it, a new season begins and all players are reset back down to nothing, similar to other games like this. Now, I imagine there's probably some countdown, that way, you know, you don't just get wiped in the middle of a raid or something like that. But like I said, I don't really know, and I haven't gotten that far yet, and we definitely don't have enough players that have tried to do the wipe yet. But I like the idea of it. I like giving the players some way where they get to, like, interact with the world themselves, instead of it just kind of being this, like, arbitrary kind of wipe, where it's like the developers are like, all right, guys, it's been 2 months, now we're gonna wipe. Like, I like the idea of, like, players getting to decide that. Like, collectively, players could just all together be like, no, we want to keep playing with our cool stuff. We don't want to do the wipe yet. And it would take a long time for enough players to say, no, let's go ahead and do a wipe. I want to start over, for that to really happen. I just think that's cool. I love players getting invested in the game. I think that's really a great thing to see, and is really, it's really interactive. I like it. Now, one thing I really love about Active Matter, to start getting into the pros and cons, is Active Matter strikes a really good balance of complexity. One thing I really hate about Tarkov is that there's just like, there's so much complexity. There's so much stuff in the game. And I don't care enough about guns or really know enough about guns to like DIY my own rifle with 30 different pieces, or to research what type of ammo works about the best and which type of armor I have to wear against different types of ammo, which all have different weights and stats and durability and yada, 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 yada. And you guys get the idea. It's just, there's just so much going on that I can never really get into it. It feels like a full-time job, right? In Active Matter, there's a pretty healthy variety of guns, maps, and equipment. You know, different ammo does different amounts of damage, but it's not like you're using Hollow Point 7.62 versus, you know, FMJ 7.62 versus Armor Piercing 7.62 or whatever. It's just 7.62, right? And then there's like different armor types that have very minor differences, but it's all right there. Right, the stats are all displayed pretty openly, and you can pretty quickly be like, oh, this is the basics, I get it, this has this pro, this has this con. There's not a whole lot, you know, going into it, just enough to really make you scratch your head, but not enough to, you know, make you just kind of wanted to take a step back from it, you know? Another thing is that the loot in Active Matter is very plentiful, especially guns. I always hated loot anxiety in these kinds of games where I find some amazing gun and I just stash it forever because I don't want to lose it, right? I don't even want to take it out because it's so good that I feel like I'm never going to find it again. But in Active Matter, you get so much gear, and you can just like buy gear and craft gear, that it's really not that big of a deal if I die and lose it. And once you've played enough and looted enough stuff, you can actually just buy and craft anything that you might need. Like if you really like the AK, 103 or whatever it is, then you can just use that a bunch, and eventually you'll be able to just craft it and be able to take a ton of them with you anytime you go out. I just find that to be a really good system to where you're not like scrounging around for loot all the time, and then as soon as you find something really amazing, it just sits gathering dust in your base or whatever. You actually use the stuff that you want, and you're always able to find serviceable equipment quickly, and there's still a good progression as you find more and more in the various different maps. Finally, the thing I'm going to talk the most about is my favorite thing with Active Matter, which is the focus on the PvE. Now, there's definitely players running around, but they're pretty few and far between, and with how dangerous the PvE aspect is, you really don't want to be fighting players, right? You're already under such a threat from the environment that players just throw such a wrench into it that it can be really dangerous, although it can be very profitable as well. Now, for reference, guys, I've done about 30 raids, and I think I've ran to a grand total of maybe 10 actual players, of which only about probably 6 I've actually seen. The other ones I just know have been around me because, I may have heard them shooting nearby, and I've been like, you know what, I don't really want to die. And you guys might be thinking to yourselves, okay, but doesn't that make it too easy, Quadro? Like, you're just fighting, like, the AI and stuff. And that's where you're wrong, bucko. Like I mentioned before, the monsters in Active Matter are no joke, okay? Even the smallest mistake or misstep can set off a chain reaction that will absolutely end with you turning into a loot box for someone else. Seriously, guys. There was a time where I was in the second story of a building, and I thought to myself, I won't take too much damage from jumping off of this. It's gonna be fine, guys. You can see where this is going. I jump out the window, shatter my legs, and then immediately as I shatter my legs, I look to my right and I see hellhounds come running towards me, which now I can't outrun them. I shoot at them. I'm not able to kill them very, very effectively. I take more damage, and by shooting them and having to shoot them, I've now revealed myself to some enemy soldiers, some AI soldiers that were nearby, who come over, see me with my broken legs and damaged body with no ammo, and proceed to gun me down and kill me. Right? It's a series of things where just the smallest mistake will set off a chain reaction to get you killed, right? It's fantastic. And on top of all this, the real danger comes from the fact that other players could always be nearby, right? Do you want to try to clear out this house that's full of, flowermen and get some of that nice juicy loot in there? You'll end up making a ton of noise, and maybe some player nearby is gonna come over and be like, well, la-di-da, let me just take all of these rewards and kill you because you've used all of your stuff trying to clear these guys out and taken some damage, right? The danger and the decisions that you make on the regular are absolutely insane in this game, and they really lead to fun interactions with the world where you're constantly worrying and kind of deciding on what you want to encounter at any one time. And on top of all this, the game is genuinely scary, especially on the dark maps. When you're wandering around in the dark and you're afraid to turn on your flashlight because then everyone and their mother is going to be able to see you from miles away, but at the same time you can't see anything and you stumble into a nest of these distorted teleporting demon men, it's the scariest thing imaginable, guys. It really, really is. Now, let's talk about some of the bad stuff, some of the stuff I don't really like. Number one, I wish there was more info in the game. For a game that has all these different anomalies and stuff like that, it's really hard to know what the hell things do. And part of that is, the learning process that I think is really fun, but it can feel really bad to die to an encounter because you just didn't know what it did or how it worked or how to fight the monster, right? And there's been a lot of times where I've been in that situation where I'm like, how do I do this objective? How do I fight this enemy? What is it doing? Like, it's just like shooting tentacles at me. What is happening? But I'm not taking damage. What's going on here, right? It's a beta. We're early on, so maybe this is going to change in the future, and that would be great. But I think it is worth mentioning that there is a distinct lack of information in the game. The gunplay is also not quite up to snuff, in my opinion. The animations and the movement feel really good, especially compared to Enlisted. But sometimes guns just aren't quite as accurate as I would like, and I think a lot of this really comes from the fact that my sneaking suspicion is that this game runs on an enlisted foundation. Like, a lot of the mechanics and a lot of the underlying, the stuff under the hood is kind of being brought over from enlisted, which leads to some arcadey gameplay at times that I don't really think fits with the game, right? There's been a lot of times where I've kind of shot at an enemy and my bullets are just kind of like, it's like I'm firing like a fully automatic musket and the bullets just aren't going where I'm aiming, or they aren't doing the damage that I want them to do, or maybe they're doing like way more damage than I thought they would. It can be kind of confusing at times, and I would like a little bit of a tightening up of that, right? Just tighten it up a little bit. It's a little loosey-goosey. I think the game would benefit a little bit more from some stronger, more tight gunplay, right? If that makes sense. On top of that, guys, sometimes the enemies are pretty annoying to deal with, and not really in a good way. I think some enemies are very annoying in a good way, but some of the enemies teleport around a lot, and they dash around, or they're just kind of like, they don't like run straight at you. It can just end up being really frustrating to deal with them whenever you're a solo player. I'm not sure. It's worth mentioning that only EU servers exist right now, and I'm obviously NA, so that can play its part in this, but it can be kind of a frustrating experience in my opinion. But guys, all in all, I'm absolutely loving Active Matter. It has been a great experience, and I'm hoping it sticks around. And we get to see more of it going forward. I'll be doing some videos on it so you guys can see it. So let me know if you guys want to see more of it and the types of videos that you guys would like to see. I don't know any specifics about the release date other than 2025 is the goal. I don't know if it's going to be free to play or paid or what. But regardless, I'm very excited for this game, and I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are as well. So leave a comment down below. While you're there, like and subscribe for more coverage of Active Matter going forward. Without anything else, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.